Phosphor Dot fans, Earl at thelogbook.com, back on the Apple II, and I have a question for you. I think we have all heard recently about the Applevision Pro, which is the VR goggles that Apple is now marketing. Do you know why it's Applevision Pro? It's because it wasn't the first Applevision. What we have here is the DOS 3.3 boot disk from 1980. Which has a wonderful surprise for us. Yeah, Applevision, right there. Well, let's run that. Let's see what that's all about. 1978, wow. Obviously, this was a carryover from earlier versions of the Apple II boot disk, since the copyright is 1978. This is written in integer basic, which over time fell into disuse compared to regular AppleSoft BASIC, and especially against games programmed in machine language. This isn't really a game. This is kind of a tech demo. This is an audio-visual tech demo, and it's certainly taking its time. Bob Bishop presents Applevision. The end. So there you go, the original Applevision, the VR goggles or AR goggles or whatever you want to call them. Obviously, wee bit of a step up from the original Applevision. And if you allow it to, this will play ad nauseum. However, there are other delights laying in wait for you on the Apple boot disk. One of which is of a similarly 1979, a similarly early vintage. Breakout is a dynamic board game in which you attempt to knock down a wall of bricks with a ball struck by your paddle. Now, the Apple II, the early Apple II models, you could get a rotary paddle, an analog paddle with them. I have a digital joystick here. This is probably not going to work out too well, but I will at least give it a shot to show you. This may very well be the first game programmed on the Apple II. Yeah, that's not... Yeah, I have no real control here because I have a digital stick and not an analog paddle. This is the last ball. Oh, good. Yeah, I can work with this. Oh. Your score is not too good, but keep on trying. Should I? Should I, though? Yeah, I have no way to hit those middle positions. It's all in one direction, all in another, or it's nothing. This is the last ball. Your score is much better than it was. Keep going. But should I? Yeah, there's no point. Your score is alright. Just keep trying. No real words of encouragement. It's just, yeah, keep trying. Whatever. Whatevs. It's fine. It's fine. It's just fine. Brr. Obviously, this is the Apple II in its low-res graphics mode, which offered more color than the high-res mode in the original Apple II configuration. But the display was essentially, I'm trying to remember what it was, something like 40 blocks across by 28 blocks down, or something of that nature. And so it was very limited. But the really interesting thing about this implementation of, and let's just say what it is, it's an implementation of Atari's Breakout. But as much as you want to call it Atari's Breakout and go, oh, Apple was copying them, part of the original TTL hardware implementation of Breakout, in fact, a lot of it, Steve Jobs was hired to do it, but he brought in his friend Steve Wozniak, who had the actual coding chops to make a game, and got Wozniak to make Breakout for him. Now, the caveat there is that Wozniak's Breakout is not what made it to production because he reduced the chip count. He reduced the part count to such a degree that none of the engineers at Atari could figure out how he did what he did. And Wozniak, Apple Computer was not a thing yet. Wozniak was moonlighting, I think, from Hewlett-Packard. And so even the version of Breakout that we got in the arcade was not really necessarily Wozniak's Breakout. It was as close as they could get to his implementation of it, in so much as they couldn't really figure out how he reduced the chip count like he did. But here you have on Wozniak's machine, and this was part of Steve Wozniak's thinking in the Apple II hardware design, was that at the very least, it should be able to play a good game of Breakout. Because that was the state of play at the time. That was the state of the art as far as arcade gaming. Okay, so if the Apple II can play Breakout, it is on the cutting edge. Of course, as we all know, cutting edge moves.